We want you to bring that here, all right? Go out there and press them and choke them out.
What is going on, Jets fans? Welcome back to the second live stream on the channel. Last week we had Buffalo Jet fan, and today we have another legendary guest. He is the host of the All 32 pod. He is the host of TOJ Talks. He is at WillPaw11 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. What's up, Will? How you doing, man?
Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate it greatly. Like I said to you off air, we're just going to go 20, 25 minutes. It's May OTAs, guys. We're not going to sit here and harp on every word Engstrand and Steve Wilks said today, even Chris Banjo, but they did have some good quotes and notes that I think we can take from it. So let's just get right into it. The first question I have for you comes from Tanner Engstrand and his philosophy on the new offense. Yeah. He said, quote, "We want to play fast, want to play physical, aggressive, explosive, and detailed. When someone looks at our tape, that's what we want them to see." So first and foremost, I'm very intrigued by what this explosive and aggressive offense could look like, because I feel like up until last year, they weren't very aggressive. And when they were aggressive last year, it wasn't efficient, right? So what do you take from that? And what are your expectations just kind of as an overarching umbrella for the offense?
Yeah, I think they're going to be an offense that's creative. I think they'll probably resemble, some college stuff. Fields did well, some Lions stuff, maybe take, pages out of, I know Connor's done the Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels stuff, maybe it's some stuff from kind of those earlier Cam Newton years where one or two read stuff. And if not, you're going. Look, I expect the offense to be, Engstrand just talked a lot about fitting guy, and this is very much coach speak. So, take it for what it is, but he's done a really nice job of at least talking about, hey, guys having specific roles, guys having a different fit in our offense, not the offense. Then, obviously bringing guys that you want to fit your own scheme, but making sure that it's not a situation where somebody's being put in a bad position or, hey, Elijah Moore, go run outside, go run 100, go balls outside the numbers where you're 5'8", or hey, Malachi Corley line up. It's going to be much more tailored to the talent that's around, on this team. So I think everyone should feel excited at least about Tanner Engstrand. I think there'll be some growing pains for sure. Get that through camp, get that through some of the preseason games. You hope some of those are ironed out, pretty early on. But if he can show an ability to script plays well, can show an ability to adjust, that'd be fantastic. And again, I think there's a reason to be optimistic about Engstrand overall.
Yeah, I keep kind of using the point of we need to get Justin Fields' confidence back up, and not saying his confidence lacks, but I feel like the coaching never put him in a positive situation to be confident. Those easy 8 to 10 yard back shoulder throws to his best receiver, that's just going to get the drive started. So when I heard that, my brain immediately went to Justin Fields. And hearing him talk today, it sounds like they're throwing a lot at him and seeing what sticks, but the multi-layered element of his running ability is night and day from what Engstrand had in Detroit with Jared Goff. But he just kind of used that to his benefit, right? He's just said that's more layers of the onion in the offense that we can just stay unpredictable, so to speak, because last year it was very, very predictable on offense. So with Fields specifically, I know ESPN analysts are kind of pendulum swinging back up in a positive way with the Jets, probably because number 8 is no longer here, if I had to guess. But they're really buying into Fields having a career year. So maybe he doesn't have that full-on 3,000 plus and 800 rushing, so almost 4,000 total yards. But what would you consider, I guess, a successful expectation for him? Not just win-loss category, but a little bit of stats just to prove the point.
Yeah, no, look, I think a lot of people had pre-draft notions of Fields and Zach and Trevor Lawrence, and I would be remiss to think that doesn't play somewhat of a role in some of the things you've seen in terms of, hey, guys that were really high on Fields, think this is a chance where he can maybe maybe validate a little bit of their pre-draft notions, right? So I take all of that with a grain of salt. That said, every reason he can be a 3,000-yard passer in this league, every reason we've seen him be a 1,000-yard rusher in this league. Can he score 2 total touchdowns a week? Maybe he scores, 10 to 14 rushing touchdowns and 17 to 25 through the air, depending upon obviously how things unfold. Can he be a guy that limits turnovers to a half a turnover a game, turnover every other week, as opposed to a guy that's, stacking turnovers and fumbles, things like that. But yeah, from a yardage perspective, I think the biggest thing with Fields that you've seen the biggest growth in is completion percentage has gone up every year pretty significantly, when he's had the ability to start. So, hey, it was 63 a year ago. Can he get up to 65? Can he, bump that up just a little bit? And, 10 total touchdowns, I believe, 2 total turnovers, through 6 games. Hey, can he go 30 and 6? That'd be pretty nuts. Maybe it's 10 total turnovers and, or 8, whatever it may be. Again, from a yardage perspective, I'm not entirely worried about yards. I'm more worried on the total yards perspective. Hey, can he be 4,025, in terms of total yardage and total touchdowns and limit turnovers? That means the running game's probably working. It means the defense is probably doing a good job, and you put yourself in a position. So I think the expectations need to be not extremely high, but I think they need to be decently high, because otherwise, like, he's going to have to play really well to be, a long-term answer here. Mm-hmm. And if he's a guy that puts them in position to be competing for a wild card and is around that 4,000 yard total yardage mark and 25 to 30 total touchdowns, again, rushing and passing, receiving, who knows, that would give you a lot of confidence saying, okay, cool, we go into a second year with him as a starter. If he's a guy that's like barely eclipsing 3,000 total yards, barely eclipsing 20 total touchdowns, it's like, hey man, like 150 yards a week and a touchdown's like not good enough. That's when it's going to be a different conversation.
Yeah, and just a follow-up on Fields, do you think there's a case to be made that the Jets in 2025, at least from an offensive perspective, is probably the number one support group as a whole that Justin Fields has had in his career? Obviously, Chicago, he had DJ Moore, but the line wasn't great. They didn't really have a ton of backs. Then they go over to Pittsburgh, and they just kind of asked him to, I don't want to say play scared, but play so efficient, where I felt like he was restricted to only throwing outside the red line and not really utilizing the middle of the field. So I guess I would say efficiency is my biggest thing with Fields, maybe a little less running and more passing. But if they have to rely on his legs, I'm cool with that too. So do you think there's a case to be made that this is the best supporting cast for Fields since he entered the NFL?
I would say it's the best line for sure, at least on paper. I think it's potentially the best receiver. I think people, to be fair to DJ Moore, like, he was a 1,400-yard receiver with Justin Fields. So, but a similar player, if not, I would obviously think Garrett's a better player, but at least, DJ Moore's a very good receiver. He's a $100 million receiver. Like, it's not like he's a schmuck, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
like, go that far. And in terms of the backs, yeah, I think Brees at his best is the best back he's ever had. So again, there's pieces there. I don't think there's the depth at the receiver position or the tight ends. We have no idea what tight end's going to look like. It could be a group that's surprisingly kind of decent, middle half of the league, where Mason Taylor's a solid, league average to above average starter, but maybe it won't be overnight. So, hey, maybe it's, he's not really that great this year and going on from that perspective. So generally, yeah, I agree. I think it's more of the top end talent in the line. I don't think it's necessarily the depth. But hey, can Mason Taylor, people in the front office around the league comped him to Cole Kmet coming out, and Cole Kmet and DJ Moore both ate with Justin Fields. Again, the offense wasn't great elsewhere, but at least from that perspective, those guys did well. So yeah, like, I think Fields is in a good position to succeed. Do I wish they had another receiver? Do I wish they had another tight end you feel comfortable about that's proven in the NFL? Sure. But should be a really good defense, should be much better on specials just by process of elimination in some ways. And, from an offensive line perspective, he should have held all the time. My concerns with Fields are strictly between the ears and holding the football a little too long. Hey, is he going to process a little bit quicker? Can the Jets put him in positions where he doesn't have to process quickly? It's going to be 1, 2, and take off, like some half field reads. Can they set up some really nice play action and screen game stuff to allow Fields to kind of do what he does best, which is he's got a huge arm. He can throw the deep ball. He can throw on the move. He's obviously a fantastic runner and can create a bunch of different opportunities. So, I think some of this stuff on Fields is going to be on Eggstrand and, Garrett making himself available at all times, moving him around the formation. Can you get him in the slot a lot more? He's a guy in camp last year who you saw him in the slot a ton, and then the season came around and the Jets stopped doing it after week 1, and it was pretty frustrating. So, yeah, I think he has all the opportunity to succeed, but it's going to have to be consistent week over week. It's going to have to be like, can 1 or 2 games he be the best player on the offense? Not every week, but can there's be a couple games where it's like, whoa, Justin did it against Detroit a couple times. Some of his best work in the league, it was against Aaron Glenn. So like, can that be a little bit of what happens, this year? That'd obviously be nice for, for the Jets.
Yeah, I feel like I'd caught a little bit of flack about the tight end position because a rookie in Mason Taylor being your top line guy, if he's not up to speed in the playbook, or if he suffers some kind of small injury even before August, he's just going to be so behind in the playbook. So it does make it a little worrisome. But at the same time, he could be the perfect complement to a wide receiver one in Garrett Wilson. You might not need two wide receiver twos like they had in Garrett and Devontae last year. So there is hope that if Mason Taylor hits the ground running, that there is an element for him to be massively involved in the pass game. Speaking of the offensive line, there's a quote unquote battle at center right now. John Simpson alluded to it. It is taking place between Joe Tippmann and Josh Myers, the newcomer from the Green Bay Packers, who notably played at Ohio State with Justin. So what are your thoughts on that competition? Do you think it's a competition? Who has the upper hand for you? And without the pads being on, who would you project as the week one center in front of Justin?
Yeah, I'm a little confused at why this has become such a big thing. In my opinion, I think, Josh Myers is a really quality backup. I think he's a guy who's one of the best 32 centers in the NFL. That's nice, and that's really good to have, and it's a quality add because there's a chance Joe Tippmann, there's a chance ABT goes down and you have to kick somebody out. There's a chance they don't want to start Membu week one, right? There's all those things could happen. I think it's healthy competition. I don't think Membu is being given the right tackle job. I think they're going to let Chukwuefor have every chance to win the job right away. You'd like Membu to obviously be your day one starter, but if he's not ready, he's not ready. And they're going to kind of groom him that way. Or, hey, we'd love AVT to be at right guard, but if he has to move to right tackle or has to move these different spots, we'll move him. I think it'll be best five. But in my opinion, I don't think there's any question. Joe Tippmann will be the starter. Josh Myers did not have a great year last year. There's a reason he was available for $3.5 million. I'm not saying Joe Tippmann's the world's best center, but this offense should provide some opportunity for Tippmann to be quite good and get on the move, pull, and do these different things in the run game and in the pass game. So I would be pretty shocked if he's not the day one starter.
Yeah, that's fair. And you mentioned Membu there. He's getting a lot of work with the first team, at least it seems from the social media posts. And I know everybody's playing them in slow motion, trying to figure out the alignments because the beat reporters can't really tell what's going on in terms of first, second, third team. But it looked like Max Mitchell was playing with the second team over Chooks. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe he was playing guard, but it did look like Membu is going to get every opportunity to be the day one right tackle. So that is a huge positive in my opinion. Flipping over to Steve Wilks, he spoke today as well, and he mentioned two people who have gained weight on this defense. One that you alluded to, I think it was a TOJ Talks or a show you did with Joe, and it was Sauce playing around 200 pounds now. So really, what are the expectations for Sauce? Here's the quote from Steve Wilks. Sauce is very smart, sees it from a different lens, understands the game, so could transition well if man or zone, although he did not confirm or deny the switch to man primarily. He said eyes, hands, hips, and feet is the teaching point, and he does all of that well as being physical at the line of scrimmage. And when you watch Sauce on tape, if he's in press man coverage, all those things stick out to me. So what is the expectation for Sauce at a higher weight? Do you think he has to earn his next contract with the Jets in Aaron Glenn's scheme, or do you think this is something that he'll get paid before the season even starts?
Yeah, I think he's going to get paid the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I think the thing with Sauce that's the most frustrating is last year where he didn't tackle well. There's certain things, he didn't do as good of a job of as you would have wanted, especially early in the year. He's taking the offseason seriously. I can't emphasize enough. Sorry, my dog for some reasons.
All good.
I can tell you firsthand, he's taking it very seriously. And I know fans want to give him flack for golfing. Newsflash, every player in the NFL golfs. He's a two-time All-Pro. It's 24 years old or 23 years old. He's put on weight in a good way. His shoulders have certainly gotten bigger. The upper body's much bigger. I think there's a commitment to wanting to be here and wanting to be here long-term and getting back the mantle of hey, I'm a top two corner in this league, and there's no doubt about it. I think he'll have the opportunity to travel. I think he'll have the opportunity to be in a lot of press man and a lot of cover zero, cover one, and some two-man stuff. So, yeah, I don't have many issues with with Sauce. I think last year, there was just the culture around the Jets was terrible. And I can tell you, Glenn has been on these guys. I think there's a quote from Fields today about yesterday's practice and hey, like, wasn't good enough. And Glenn let these guys know, like, that wasn't Justin just saying that, like that happened. I can tell you for a fact. So he like, I think Glenn, Dre Bly's a Super Bowl champ, 45 picks in his career. Like, it's no joke, man. So yeah, I'm not worried about Sauce. I think he'll get paid before the season. And I think the expectation is he's going to be an all-pro. I don't think every year Sauce in his prime, the expectation should be you are one of the 2 or 3, I guess really 3 or 4 best corners in the league. And if he's going to, I don't know what the deals, and I can't tell you what the deal is exactly going to look like, but if Sauce were to get an extension, I would think it's going to beat Stingley by a little bit. Like, just so, it'll be like the Jalen Ramsey deal where it was, I mean, not essentially like in that case, but like I would assume it'd be, hey, if Stingley got 30, you're getting 30.1, right? Or whatever it may be. I could see the Jets doing something like that. But again, Sauce has gained weight. It's gained good weight. This isn't like he got, fluffy. This is like Sauce looks like pretty jacked. And not to be weird, I don't think you could have ever said that about Sauce the last couple of years.
Yeah, he always looked like he was very skinny, even from a tape perspective. You watch him on the broadcast.
Sauce is a huge dude, right? Sauce is like every bit of 6'3". Like, he's got really long arms. All that stuff is a real thing. And you need to work out even harder when you are that size, because like it's just, you're not going to look the same as, if you're 5'8" and you're jacked. Like, it's just a different look. But Sauce is taking lifting, nutrition, lifting, like those things he's taken seriously this year. Not that he didn't take it seriously last year, but
I knew what you were trying to get at. But I tend to align with that. I think if he can bounce back and be closer to the all-pro form of Sauce that we saw in 22 and 23, there's no reason he can't be in the top 5, top 3 discussion at the position. So I'm really excited about the outlook on Sauce. The other player who gained weight, Aaron Glenn said he's up 15 pounds. So from 236, his listed weight last year, to hopefully over 250 now. And we'll find out in a couple weeks when they take physicals, is Will McDonald. And Wilkes said of McDonald, he's phenomenal, can get to the passer, much more physical and stronger versus the run than originally believed. Effort, approach, I'm on board with him. So my expectations for Will were not to be every down edge setting presence on first and second down, even when, Jermaine isn't healthy to start the season. But now with the 15 extra pounds, I feel like he is an every down player in this defense. And it seems like they view him the same way. So can you talk about Will McDonald's kind of muscle up and see what his expectations would be too?
Yeah. I think Will's got extremely high expectations. Like, I don't know, man, last year was a guy who 10 plus sacks, and he's going to be in year 3 now. Usually it's when you start to see that kind of leap, from a guy that's really comfortable and, did Will add one more move to, obviously the spin move, a counter to that, and then one more move he can kind of to get away with and have 3 kind of in his arsenal. I think he's going to play on the field a lot more. Yeah, I just, I can't emphasize this enough. Like, look at Aiden Hutchinson. Look at, some of these Lions guys. Look at, some of the guys down in New Orleans, how much they were playing, snap over snap. Like, Cam Jordan doesn't come off the field. And this is, Trey Hendrickson didn't come off the field. My point being, it's just going to be a bit different than, the solid method of like everyone plays 40 to 50% of the snaps and we go over and over and over again. So, I think Will should have a really big year. If he has 12 sacks, like, wouldn't be shocked. If he has 8 sacks, but it's a better, well-rounded player, that's okay as well. I think the play around him will be better. I think the Jets should have an opportunity to kind of potentially close some games, which would be nice. So, yeah, I expect big things. Like, I would be pretty shocked if he doesn't have a pretty big year, under Aaron Glenn and this, this staff. And if he has a big year, like we're all expecting, then we're talking about another guy in a year that's potentially getting paid. Like, it's nice to be in a situation where there's young guys potentially getting paid, going from there.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly he is entering his third season. So just a note for everybody, he's up for an extension as early as next season. So if he does capitalize and have a 10+ sack performance again, and 2.5 don't come in the last 10 games, and like you said, he's able to close it out, I think that would be great for Will. One more question, just about a position battle. Obviously the pads aren't on yet, but Steve Wilks mentioned defensive tackle 2 next to Quinnen. Who do you think is the leader in the clubhouse? They obviously have Derek Nottie from the Chiefs, Byron Cowart, who came over from the Bears, Jay Tufele from the Bengals, and then the holdover from last year, UDFA, Leonard Taylor III, which, shameless plug, somebody posted in the Badlands Discord, and I'm super appreciative because it is my most successful video so far with over 3,000 views. So who do you think is the leader in this position room? And also, how many percent snaps do you think they'll take? Because you just mentioned it's not going to be a 40-50 type split. It might be a little bit more strayed from these are the top line guys and these are your backups. So who do you think that role goes to, and how much snaps percentage wise do you think they play?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, sorry, just looking at someone got promoted. From like a defensive line perspective, yeah, look, I think Derek Namdi, I think Brian Cowart likely right now would be a starter. Next to Quinnen, I think it'd be him and Namdi, and then Leonard Taylor maybe comes in and for more pass rush situations. I don't know, maybe those guys are 40, and 20% or something of that nature. And whoever's going to be behind Q maybe plays another 30% and Q plays 70. I think you're not going to see, Q in the 50s. I think it'll be more like he's 70% when Jermaine's fully right. Maybe he's playing 85, 90% of snaps, but hopefully Will's on the field for 90% of the snaps. And like, that spot next to Q is rotating, and then pass rush downs, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe Leonard Taylor comes in, maybe it's, Jermaine, Will, and Tyler Barron, or, whoever it may be. So yeah, I think those guys will play a high percentage of snaps. Yeah, it's funny.
70 to 80%. What's that?
No, I just know everyone never wants to pay Sauce, but
oh, yeah, of course. But the second he returns to all-pro form, it's just going to be, oh, we knew all along. We love Sauce. We'll forget everything we said in the summertime. All right. I had one last question. I know you're giving us 25 minutes. You have to choose one X factor on offense, not named Justin Fields, and one X factor on defense. Who would be your choice? I know it's May 29th, so still a long time left, but who would be those guys that you're kind of soft circling to be the most impactful X factor type players?
Ooh. I would say on defense, I think I'll go Quincy. I don't think Quincy was fully healthy last year, but I also don't think he had his best year by any means. And I think it hurt them, right? I think when Quincy's at his best, he's one of the best 3 or 4 linebackers in the league. When he's not, he's a good player, but he's very boom or bust. And, and that's kind of the old Quincy, which you're trying to get away from. And, maybe another year next to Sherwood, now they get more comfortable. Quincy's back and everything is right. If he's an all-pro level player, you have, again, you have an all-pro level guy at all 3 levels. And like, that'd be awesome. Offensively, I don't know. I'll go AVT.
Okay.
I think AVT is a young player, quote unquote, early on was unbelievably good. And I think he's been good, but he almost hasn't like fully hit the same heights. I don't feel like yet. I think, back-to-back years coming off season-ending injuries and different things like that have just kind of hampered him. This is the first year he's going to have a chance to be playing for a big contract, A, like and B, I just think not coming off a season-ending injury, and if he's at the top of his game, and hey, Tittman in year 3, AVT is playing really well. That means Membu's probably got, has got a really good guy next to him, and on the other side, like Olu and Simpson are just solid. Now this group's in a really nice spot, and you can do these different creative things with AVT. So AVT, I would say, and Quincy. I think those are, if you want to do lesser name ones, I think. Is Andre Cisco 2022 and 2023 Cisco, or is he 2024 Cisco? Because as bad as the Jags coaching staff was last year, he was awful. The whole defense was. The whole defense sucked.
Yes.
Josh Hines Allen was almost a 20 sack guy the year prior, and was not the same player last year. So it was a group thing. But again, like Cisco being just league average or solid is a huge upgrade from what they've had. offensively, yeah. If you want to go like a Josh Reynolds, can Josh Reynolds be 2022 or 2023 Reynolds? Sure. The guy that got shot in the head a year ago, like, wasn't the same player, and you can't blame him. It's a crazy thing that happened, but they kind of need Josh Reynolds to be like solid. Again, can he be a league average? Can he not be what Corey Davis was, 3 years ago, where it's like, hey, he's just a dependable number 2 that like isn't a game breaker, but we have an elite number 1 and we have these backs and we have these tight ends. Like, I think that's best case for the Jets.
Yeah, with Quincy, I'll just run down the 4 you gave. Quincy, I want to see him blitz more, that 5-man, 6-man pressures that they're going to hopefully do more of while playing man on the back end. AVT, I'm interested to see how he fits in the scheme, the blocking scheme. Is it going to be a gap power scheme or an inside zone, wide zone type of scheme? I think he fits better in the zone scheme, but if he can kind of pull out some of that mauler nasty in him, he can definitely be the right guard of the future. Andre Sisco and Josh Reynolds, I think I've kind of used this term, threading the needle. The coaching staff needs to really thread the needle with some of these guys who had a down year in 24 and reclaim their 2022, 2023 status. And Reynolds and Sisco fit that bill perfectly. So I'm excited to see if the coaching staff can put their money where their mouth is with some of these guys and really develop the most out of them. So that's going to do it for us. I appreciate you hopping on, Will. This is episode 2. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Like the video, please hit subscribe on your way out, and Will, please plug all your stuff for the one person that probably doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, no, hey, I'm not there. I'm nobody, man. No,
That's
obviously turn the TOJ pod, turn the Jets and TOJ talks on Badlands. Both things are on the Badlands feed. TOJ pod is free, obviously, and Apple, Spotify, whatever. All 32 pod on CLNS Media, cover the whole league. We obviously talk a bunch of Jets as well. Jets and Pats if you're into that type of thing. And on socials, the whole 9 yards. YouTube, I'll have 2 pods out. One will be out tomorrow morning, one will be out Saturday. There's one from today. So make sure you guys are supporting Dylan, and we'll have a bunch of news dropping Saturday morning next live show, which hopefully Dylan will get up for in August, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm hoping to get up there. Now that I'm in South Carolina, it's a little bit tougher to go all the way up to New Jersey. I take either a 10-hour drive or a quick flight, 2-hour flight. So I'm hoping to get to that Badlands meetup because the work that you guys do is amazing. Hopefully we get you back on, whether if not before the season, during the season. And then, as always, man, I'll see you in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. This will be year 5 for me.
Yeah, no, make sure you keep crushing it, and whenever you need, I'll hop on with you.
I appreciate it, Will. Everybody in the chat, thank you for tuning in. This is episode 2 of our live stream. Still workshopping a day and a title for the show. So if anybody in the comments wants to give their opinions, I'm always looking for feedback. And until next time, let's go Jets.